In the year 1831, in Ekaterinoslav, a cold Orthodox city of the Russian Empire, a girl was born who would never fit into the norms of her time. Her name was Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. From an early age, there was something different about her. It wasn't just her precocious intelligence or her defiance of family traditions. Helena could see and hear what no one else could perceive. Her childhood was marked by spontaneous psychic experiences, apparitions, voices, night visions. Some called her sensitive, others disturbed. But her family knew she carried a mysterious, perhaps even dangerous spark. At the age of 17, she married a general 40 years her senior. An arranged marriage like so many in that era. But within months, she abandoned everything. She fled, alone. What would compel a young Russian aristocrat to leave behind comfort, security, and social status to wander the world with no clear destination? Helena claimed she was hearing an inner calling, a silent summons that pushed her toward unknown lands, and so began a journey that would last over 20 years. Crossing India, Tibet, Nepal, Egypt, Syria, Mexico, South America, Greece, and the Himalayas. But these were not ordinary travels. Helena was seeking something, or someone. During this pilgrimage, Blavatsky claimed to have been initiated into ancient occult traditions, inaccessible to outsiders. She spoke of secret rituals performed by monks in Tibet and hidden temples buried beneath the sands of Egypt. In her words, there existed a hidden brotherhood of superior beings, silently guiding the spiritual evolution of humanity. These beings were known as the Mahatmas, or Masters of Wisdom. They do not belong to any race, nor do they follow any religion. They are guardians of divine knowledge that predates all civilizations. According to Blavatsky, these masters lived in seclusion in places like the Himalayas and communicated telepathically with initiates. She described two in particular, Morya and Kuthumi, who she claimed delivered teachings directly to her in the form of letters and visions. These masters were not flesh and blood in the common human sense. They were elevated consciousnesses, dwellers of higher planes, who incarnate from time to time to guide humanity through critical moments. Blavatsky stated that the Mahatmas had prepared her for a mission, to reveal to the West the principles of the ageless wisdom contained in what she would come to call Theosophy. And that is exactly what she began to do. But carrying a spiritual mission in a world ruled by materialistic institutions comes at a cost. While her accounts fascinated seekers of the occult, she also provoked the fury of religious authorities, skeptics, and scientists. She was called mad, a liar, a manipulator. They claimed her stories about the Mahatmas were inventions, delusions, or worse, a hoax. But Helena never backed down. She never denied her visions. She never took back a single word of her experiences with the masters. They taught me what few dare to seek, the truth behind the veil of matter. The depth of her teachings was such that many of her statements were confirmed years later, when science began to explore topics like energetic fields, quantum consciousness, and the interconnectedness of mind and matter. What would drive a woman to abandon the safety of her homeland just to listen to voices no one else could hear? And what if those voices weren't madness, but messages from a far older intelligence than any known civilization? Would you have the courage to follow that calling? In 1888, at the age of 57, Helena Blavatsky published a work that would challenge not only scientific thinking, but the very structure of reality as it was known in the West. The Secret Doctrine, two monumental volumes which, according to her, were not written by her, but dictated by a much higher source. She claimed the content had been directly transmitted by the masters of the Himalayas, the same beings who had prepared her throughout her initiatory journey. According to Blavatsky, these teachings were not personal inventions or dogmas. They were fragments of an ancient wisdom that has always existed, protected by ancient civilizations, initiatory mysteries, and occult schools. The secret doctrine presents a deep esoteric cosmology, asserting that the universe did not arise by chance, nor from a simple material Big Bang. To her, the cosmos is the result of an absolute principle, eternal and impersonal, which manifests cyclically through cosmic ages. Nothing begins from zero. Nothing is ever lost. Everything transforms in vast cycles of manifestation and rest. These cycles are called manvantaras in Pralayas, the days and nights of the universe. Each cycle brings forth new forms, new worlds, and new levels of consciousness. This vision is profoundly symbolic and metaphysical, and anticipates ideas that modern physics is only now beginning to consider: a pulsating multidimensional universe in constant regeneration. According to Blavatsky, reality is composed of 7 planes, from the densest to the most subtle. We inhabit only the physical plane and part of the astral, but there are also mental, Buddhic, and spiritual planes, invisible to the common senses, yet accessible to a trained consciousness. Just as the cosmos is septenary, so too is the human being. She described the 7 bodies of man, which coexist simultaneously: physical, the material body, etheric; vitality and life force; astral, emotions and desires; lower mental, logical thinking; higher mental, intuition and wisdom; Buddhic, universal love and divine consciousness; Atmic, the spark of the absolute within us. The soul, therefore, is not something we have. It is what we are. And matter, no matter how solid it seems, is just the densest reflection of consciousness. This sevenfold structure would later be adopted by various esoteric schools, including Rudolf Steiner's Anthroposophy and branches of modern occultism. One of the most controversial and fascinating aspects of the secret doctrine is its view on the origin of humanity. Blavatsky speaks of the 7 root races, 7 great evolutionary cycles of mankind, each corresponding to a stage of the earth and collective consciousness. We are said to be the 5th root race, known as the Aryan, in the spiritual sense, not ethnic. Before us came earlier races and civilizations, now considered myths. The first race, ethereal and almost immaterial, lived in a state of pure light and consciousness. The second race, denser but still without sexual polarity, inhabited a very different earth. The third race, known as the Lemurians, were the first to have physical bodies and defined sexuality. They supposedly lived on a vast continent now lost beneath the Indian Ocean. The fourth race, the Atlanteans, developed immense psychic and technological power, but their downfall came from the imbalance between science and spirituality. Our current race is undergoing a spiritual transition. According to Blavatsky, humanity's destiny is not technological but spiritual. The 6th and 7th races will be more subtle, compassionate, and connected to the divine plane. While science was still searching for the atom, Blavatsky spoke of planes of consciousness beyond matter. Who was really behind? Today, many concepts introduced by Blavatsky resonate with discoveries in quantum physics, consciousness studies, and investigations into multidimensionality and life after death. She planted a seed that would silently grow through the 20th century, and now blooms among seekers, spiritualists, and open-minded scientists. Blavatsky didn't offer certainties. She offered paths. She didn't impose dogmas. She revealed symbols. She didn't ask for worship. She called for transformation. When the world still believed that all was solid matter, one woman dared to say, "The universe is mind. Reality is illusion. And man is a sleeping star trying to awaken. Are you ready to remember who you are?" No dominant institution survives the awakening of the people, and Helena knew that. With the publication of The Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky didn't just offer a mystical view of the universe. She dropped a spiritual bomb on the foundations of religious dogma and 19th century materialist science. At the time, this was far more dangerous than it seems. Blavatsky had the audacity to claim publicly that the soul is not born just once, as the church preached, but reincarnates infinitely in a sacred process of learning and spiritual evolution. Hell is not an eternal place of punishment, but a dense state of consciousness caused by one's own disconnection from the inner light. The so-called angels and gods of ancient myths, like the Egyptian deities, the archangels, or the Eastern devas, are not symbolic inventions. They are real beings from more subtle planes who once walked among us. According to her, the history of humanity was altered. The sacred texts were edited, and what we now call myth was once advanced spiritual science. Christian theology, over the centuries, turned the human soul into a condemned sinner. But Blavatsky affirmed that the soul is divine by nature. It carries a spark of the absolute, and that its fall was merely a step in the journey back to the source. She taught that Jesus did not come to found a religion, but to remind humankind that God dwells within each of us, something theologians at the time saw as pure heresy. More than that, she claimed that the church had hidden and corrupted the original teachings of Christ, which were initiatory and deeply esoteric. It didn't take long for the backlash to begin. Helena was accused of witchcraft heresy, fraud, demonic possession. Newspapers of the time ridiculed her. Scientists called her a spiritual fraud. Religious leaders demanded her imprisonment, but she never backed down. "You can call me mad, but I bring truths you're too afraid to face." She was excommunicated from the Russian Orthodox Church, expelled from India under British colonial pressure, and her health suffered deeply from the persecution. Yet still, she kept writing, teaching, and opening doors for sleeping souls. One of the most explosive topics in her teachings was about the pre-flood times, eras that mainstream history refuses to acknowledge as real. Blavatsky spoke of Atlantis, an empire of knowledge and psychic power that fell into moral decay and was destroyed by its own arrogance. Lemuria, an even earlier civilization, more spiritual and connected to subtle planes, that existed in a world very different from our own. These civilizations, according to her, are not myths, but collective memories distorted over time by institutions that prefer to keep the veil of ignorance intact. Why do all religions speak of a great flood? Because they try to hide what came before it. For Blavatsky, the answer lies in the planet's hidden records, the Akashic records, where everything is written. Another point that deeply disturbed the clergy was the feminine role Blavatsky embodied. She directly challenged religious patriarchy in its rawest form. A woman, not submissive, who spoke with angels, who denied original sin, and who claimed that the female soul is just as divine as the male. She said the world's balance would only be restored when the sacred feminine was once again honored, and that this restoration would not come through churches, but from within, through intuition, inner wisdom, and reconnection with the earth. Despite all attempts to silence her, the seeds planted by Blavatsky blossomed. She influenced writers like Aldous Huxley and Carl Jung, inspired the birth of the Anthroposophical Society, modern Rosicrucians, Wicca, and even parts of the New Age movement, helped reintroduce Eastern concepts such as karma, reincarnation, and chakras to the Western world. She knew that even if her words were burned, awakened minds would never be silenced. If all religions speak of a great flood, It's because they're hiding something. What existed before the waters? Before history? Before the lie? Blavatsky tried to tell us and nearly got erased for it. According to Blavatsky, we live in a world where hidden forces compete for control of human consciousness. The reality we perceive with our senses is only a fraction of the truth. Behind matter, there is a living web of energies, beings, and intelligences. A silent war is underway, and few realize they are on the battlefield. Blavatsky revealed that the cosmos is organized into spiritual hierarchies, some as ancient as time itself. Devas, beings of light and wisdom, responsible for maintaining harmony in the natural realms. Archangels, cosmic intelligences that guard the higher laws of evolution. Lords of karma, entities that balance the consequences of our choices. Elementals, forces that operate in nature, shaping fire, air, water, earth, and matter itself. These beings are not metaphors. They act silently behind the scenes of the world. They guide, teach, protect. But they do not interfere with free will, for awakening must be earned. But where there is light, there is shadow. Blavatsky also warned of the involutionary forces, dense intelligences that feed on human ignorance, astral parasites that vampirize collective emotional energy, egregores created over millennia of fear, fanaticism, hatred, and war. These forces infiltrate political, religious, and educational systems. They manipulate beliefs, divide nations, and promote forgetfulness. Their goal? To keep humanity asleep. Asleep to its essence, to its cosmic origin, to the power each soul carries. According to Blavatsky, what we see in the headlines, wars, economic crises, pandemics, societal collapse, are just reflections of the invisible spiritual war. The external chaos mirrors the collective inner chaos. And all this instability serves a dark purpose, to distract attention, to make the human live on autopilot, to work, sleep, consume, fall ill, die, without ever remembering who they are. The greatest prison is the one where the prisoners believe they are free, Blavatsky in essence. But not all is lost. Blavatsky claimed that a spiritual elite, not in terms of power but consciousness, is being secretly prepared. Awakened men and women, guided by invisible masters, are being born all over the earth. They do not belong to religions. They are not on TV, and often they don't even know they're part of it, but they feel the calling. And gradually, this subtle elite is being prepared to receive the next root race, a new stage of humanity, more subtle, telepathic, unified. The Earth is changing, the planet's vibrational field is rising, and those who don't follow this frequency will remain trapped in the cycle of forgetfulness. Blavatsky said we are at the end of a cosmic cycle. It's not the end of the world, but the end of an era of ignorance. And this end can be experienced as a birth or as a collapse. Those who awaken are born again. Those who resist fall ill. This spiritual war cannot be won with weapons, but with consciousness, with meditation, study, inner silence, and truth, with the courage to face one's own shadows and transcend the veils of illusion. Do you really choose what you believe? Or were you born already programmed to never awaken? Do you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be? Today in the 21st century, many talk about the matrix, about awakening, breaking free from programming, escaping the system. But few know that Blavatsky was one of the first to speak of this back in the 19th century. She clearly saw that the world was being manipulated by invisible forces, and that only esoteric knowledge could shatter the mental chains imposed by material illusion. Ignorance is not merely the absence of knowledge. It is a force field created to prevent knowledge from being born. Helena Blavatsky didn't found a religion. She lit a torch. And that torch still burns. Even more than a century after her death, her words continue to ignite the hearts and minds of those who dare to seek beyond the veil of apparent reality. Blavatsky's influence is invisible, yet immense. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, studied her work and saw in it a map of the soul. Albert Einstein kept a copy of The Secret Doctrine in his personal library. Mahatma Gandhi said he found in her writings the higher meaning of life. Rudolf Steiner, founder of Anthroposophy, was directly shaped by the Theosophical movement. And the entire New Age movement, with its ideas of chakras, reincarnation, karma, meditation, and spiritual evolution, drank directly or indirectly from the well Blavatsky opened. She was a bridge between realms. She brought the secrets of the East, Hinduism, Buddhism, Tantra, and Hermeticism, to a Western world that was materialistic, skeptical, and mechanistic. She challenged patriarchy, religious dogma, and scientific arrogance. She spoke of chakras, subtle bodies, karma, life after death, multidimensional beings, long before these concepts became popular. Before the gurus, before the coaches, before the internet, there was a woman facing the world with a pen, a soul, and a mission. Helena Blavatsky passed away on May 8, 1891. Her final days were quiet, yet filled with spiritual intensity. She knew death wasn't the end, but a passage, and that true masters don't die. They simply change planes. Shortly after her death, stories began to emerge of apparitions, synchronicities, and vivid dreams among her students. Some believe she continues to act from the invisible realms, guiding souls who are ready to receive the flame of knowledge. But what matters most isn't what she did. It's what she left to be continued. Blavatsky called each seeker to become a living link in the Great White Brotherhood, an invisible chain of human and cosmic beings working for the awakening of humanity. You are not here to survive, you are here to awaken. Every act of compassion, every deep study, every moment of inner silence is a way of continuing her mission. The new humanity will not be defined by race, culture, or country, but by frequency of consciousness. Those who live by truth, light, and wisdom are the new initiates. They are the new torchbearers. Helena wasn't looking for followers. She was seeking souls committed to truth. And her most famous phrase, still inscribed in the emblem of the Theosophical Society, reminds us, there is no religion higher than truth. It doesn't matter what name you give to God, whether you believe in angels, extraterrestrials, orishas, guides, archangels, or cosmic energy. What matters is the bond you cultivate with truth. If you've listened this far, then something in you is already awakening. Maybe you've always felt different. Maybe you sense there's something beyond this world. Maybe you were born with a purpose, even if you don't yet know what it is. Welcome to the path of the new human. Blavatsky started something that now passes to you, not as dogma, but as a living flame. Do not follow Helena Blavatsky. Follow what she followed. Truth, raw, pure, and non-negotiable. If this video stirred something in you, if you felt something resonate deep within, you're not alone. Subscribe to the channel The Alchemist, turn on the notification bell, and share this knowledge with those who are ready to remember who they truly are.